first one which actually caps fees. You have laws already in existence. It started with Tamil Nadu first, and then it went to Gujarat. Finally, we went through Tamil Nadu had to start with, then you have Maharashtra, Punjab. Gujarat has gone a step ahead. And I think the central government seems to be very happy with it and say we'll make it a model law on education as far as regulation of fees is concerned. So they have capped fees. So now the new law in Gujarat is that if you want to charge higher fees, you need to first get it approved from the regulatory company. Otherwise, it's only 15,000, 25,000 and 27,000. They've even now covered secondary education. If you look at our laws in Maharashtra that you can't increase fees, is more limited to elementary education. But they have gone even for preschools. So the primary, secondary, higher secondary all get covered under the new law. And I hope that the other states don't adopt it. But the way things are going, I think most of them could. So we need to just think about it when you're setting up a school, that how you're going to justify, because you need to go and justify before a committee formed by the government that why you should be charging more fees than 27,000 rupees as far as Gujarat is concerned. So that will need to be justified by your infrastructure. You're going to have the fees, the salary you're paying your staff and the teachers. Okay. Then is capitation fees. Everybody knows that it's illegal. But of course, schools are charging in different forms. We did not mention that yet. That is directions of the state education department you need to follow. It's a very tough job. I mean, to set up a school, you need everything in place. I've been advising some schools and how to set it up. I think it's a task. I don't know why government in one breath they say, oh, we want to encourage people to set up schools, and then you have laws which is totally not friendly. I mean, it makes sure that you would get discouraged. So you need a lot of courage to set it up. So I think, you should all thank, telepromoters. I mean, it's courageous to start a school. Then you have preschools and coaching classes. They are not regulated as of now, but it's been under the scanner. They want to regulate even preschools and coaching classes. Because today you can charge any fee you want in a coaching class. So can you imagine that your school fee is 10,000 or 5,000 rupees a month, whereas a coaching class charges 50,000 rupees a month. Okay, regulation of admission. We were all scared when Vedant was born, and I was told that you have to go for an interview. So we had to make sure that he's already been doctored, taught what he has to say, what he doesn't have to say. But at least now there's regulation that you're not supposed to. But still getting implemented not in every school. But at least there has been a change, I believe. Then safety and security of students. See, a lot of students, I just visited about a couple of months back a school, and I saw that if I saw the infrastructure, I would say, this is so scary. I don't know, if there's a fire, I'm quite sure that 50% of the students would get hurt. So I don't know how much promoters really spending, or looking after the fact that, the security and safety should be given priority. In India, anyway, people are little, don't want to spend as much money on it. So I think we need to focus on that. Then you have inclusive education. This for children who don't have the same abilities, I would say. There are laws, but I don't know how many schools are actually implementing it. How many are actually encouraging students with not all the abilities to join. I mean, I always hear is that there's people discouraging. So I think we need to make sure there are laws which are there. You cannot discriminate. That's the actual law. It is just because it is this country that it doesn't get implemented. If it is in the West and if you discriminate, there are serious consequences. Even our laws have, but doesn't get implemented. Then is corporal punishment. I think everybody in school may be facing this on and off. How do you handle this? If I discriminate one child against the other, if I'm sarcastic, even a sarcasm can lead you can have a problem. to the child. That's actually, because there's no definition of, there is of physical hurt, but there is no of mental hurt. How do you, have you hurt the child? Even if you discriminate the child, one against the other, say one is very good and other is not, or are sarcastic, that could amount to a corporal punishment. That could attract. So if you go by the strict law, it is very, very clear that you cannot distinguish. But I don't know how many people actually implement it. The question is how we need to be aware of that you need to be careful that you don't cross the line. The line is what you decide, the law has the line, but you need to figure out while you're educating that you bear in mind that your acts do not result even in a mental hurt. Physical hurt is very clear. I mean, you can't hit somebody, you can't spank somebody, that's all stopped. Then you have vicarious liability. What I mean by vicarious liability is you as educators, how are you liable? Let's say you're a teacher of a school or a principal of a school and a child gets hurt. Okay, you are not the boss. Okay, somebody else. So you're the principal of a school. You have a teacher who was negligent and the child got hurt. Okay, you as the principal may be held liable, or even the trustees of the school may be held liable. That's what we call vicarious liability, which is one person being liable for the act of the other, for which he has done no wrong. But because he is in a position which he has been or she has been put in, because of the relationship. So you have a child and a teacher or a school. The school has been put in the position of a parent. So the parent has to exercise full care. So duty of care. So if you breach a duty of care, you're liable, irrespective whether you were part of it or not. So you could have situations we have had. I mean, you go to Bangalore, there was a case, there was one in Delhi with a student went on a school trip. Student went on a school trip and the teacher was supposedly negligent, didn't take care. And the child got hurt to the extent that the child went to coma. Now the question is, what should be the level of care which is expected on a field trip when you go with it? It's scary. I mean, when I was told that you have to accompany a child of 20 on a field trip, I would be scared because children can do anything. But the expectation of law is that you have to exercise a duty of care as you would have if you were a parent. So that means you have to ensure that there are sufficient teachers, and if you tell me 20 students went and there one teacher, how would you defend in a court of law? Very difficult. So you need to make sure that there are sufficient teachers accompanying the children. But in this case, what happened is, luckily there was no criminal case, there was only a civil liability, and they had to pay 50 lakhs. So there was a liability only civil, but you can even land up in a criminal liability. Because what happens if the child dies tomorrow? Can you be sued under the criminal law in India? Yes, you can. Not to scare you more. There have been instances like, you see sexual harassment, there are a lot of issues which come up in school. You need to find ways, how do you mitigate? You can't prevention is the best thing to do. Or how will you protect yourself in a law? You are in a position, you are in a school where these incidents can happen, whether it's bullying, ragging, sexual harassment, a child getting hurt. All you can do is put measures in place which can reduce the possibility of prevention. That's your best defense. Even a law will recognize that if you have taken enough steps, at least you will not be criminally liable. So liability is civil and criminal. Civil can always be handled. It's all about money. It's easy to pay. But how do you handle a criminal liability? So you need to make sure that you have taken enough measures that at least you're not criminally liable. Maximum it can be a civil liability. At least we should try and achieve that. So we have to get, there's something called school, but I'll skip that. We don't have enough time. Okay. What about fire safety? We had a case where There was a hospital which got fire. And you must have read about the Ansal case also, which is the vicarious liability. The owners were sent behind bars. The owners. He had nothing to do with the theatre. He didn't design it. He didn't do nothing. But vicarious liability, the liability fell on him because he was the owner. So one of the hospitals got fire in Calcutta. The trustees were held liable. The trustee never came to the hospital for last 5 years. But he was held liable. So best you can do is make sure there is enough precautions. So security systems, food safety, because of food poisoning, etc. Building and infrastructure, it has to be good. Student transport, and this is one of the risky stuff. I mean, you must have read in the newspapers, students traveling by bus, molestation, sexual harassment. Does the liability come on you? You will say, I have a bus contractor, he's there, but no. You can be held liable under law. Then the law will check whether you did enough. Because you cannot guarantee, but you can do enough to check. Did you did the background check of the driver, of the conductor on the bus? Did you check the background of the contractor you hired? So you need to do good checks. If you've done all that, at least your liability can be reduced or mitigated. Then CCTV. I mean, these are very convenient and they're direct proof, but also intrudes into privacy. So how do you balance it? But I think it's very critical. If you ask me, CCTVs are their best defense, because those will not lie. Because otherwise it's your word against someone else's. And nobody will support, even the courts will tend to support the parent or the child if they go against you. So you need to be careful that you have, for example, sexual harassment. I mean, it's a given rule in our office. If there is a disgruntled employee and you're trying to do an exit interview or in a different situation, never do it alone if you're a man. So, you make sure there's somebody with you. But, you might find it funny, but it's a reality. It's all about taking precautions, right? Then, of course, there are insurance policies available to take care of your civil liability. If you take care of the criminal liability, I'm quite sure that the civil liability can be taken care of by insurance policy, which we should do. Thank you.